Right, Joe. So it is an absolute pleasure. For everyone, welcome back to Inside the Gym podcast. This is episode number 2. For those who don't know, this is Joe, and I believe a couple of years ago, correct me if I'm wrong, Northeast Strongest Man.
So I've done a few pretty big comps up here. I did like the login deadlift championships last year. I came second at that, but I should have won. I made a mistake. But I did won the deadlift, second on the log press, competed at the Arnold's last year as well. In front of
That's a big thing, the Arnold's as well.
It's like 10,000 people.
Was it just to qualify? Was it just you still competed there as
so
well?
So I competed there, but it was the Arnold amateurs. So I'm not like, as much as I'd like to say I'm the level of pro strongman, I'm not. But it was the Arnold amateurs. So I was still in front of 10,000 people. It was kind of the biggest show I've ever done by a million miles. PB'd on my deadlift, so I can't complain. Pulled a big number, so that was good.
You're going to be the next Eddie Hall.
Do you reckon?
Being in front of Arnold Schwarzenegger, pulling that.
So at the Arnold, when I pulled my deadlift PB, I was dying. And as I walked off stage and into the back, the first person I walked into was Eddie Hall, who went, "Good lift, mate." And that's pretty much my career made. I didn't need to do anything ever again. That was me done.
You know what it is, though, but you never know. I mean...
He'll never remember it, but I'll remember it forever now.
Well, that's it. You know, that's been your inspiration as well.
For sure.
And... for those who don't know, like when people ask me who's the strongest person I know, I literally say your name every time.
Me too, kind. I try.
Because like I say, you've always done, not necessarily always strongman, have you?
No, I started more.
Well, this is what we were going to say.
Yeah.
It was me and Joe actually first met down in gym group.
Yeah.
So we both worked the public gym floor, the general public gym floor.
Gen Pop,
Some people might say we've earned our rights into being studio owners, but you know, we have a lot of experience in there. But for those who don't know, Joe never used to be part of, you know, the fitness business. So you used to work in computers, I believe.
Yeah,
or,
I worked in the gaming industry, So I was a product owner. So lots of managing developers and lots of meetings and stress different kind of stress to what I have now, I guess. But yeah, so very much an office-based role for 15 years, a long time. And then just one day I was like, it's not what I should be doing. It's not my calling. So reading my qualifications. And then I was lucky at the time. My partner at the time was kind of pretty supportive and was like, look, you're going to take a big hit financially. You've pretty much got 6 months to start making some money, or you're going to go back to work in an office. And I couldn't really disagree with that. And 5, 6, 7 years down the line, I'm still here. So it was probably a good jump at the time, I think.
I think that's what a lot of people don't realize as well, because I myself have done that twice where, you know, did a good maybe 8 or 10 years, decade of fitness training, PT and coaching. Yeah. You kind of get that, like, I think everyone has to have it where I actually left the industry and went back into what would be work. And then I think it kind of I needed that to go back into the coaching. As you say, 3 years later, we're still here. But for those who might be watching, it is you go all in, or it's very hard to go, although we say it's good for experience to go maybe part-time hours, but it is kind of, if you really want the full shebang, you've got to
for sure.
Go
I think
all in,
you've got to commit to it. So what I did, when I redone my PT qualifications, I did work, I did keep my office job for about 2 months, and I was working just hours at F.S.I. So that's how I actually started. And I was pretty realistic that I wasn't going to really pick up any clients. I was going to pick up very few, especially at that kind of gym. But what I was doing was just getting used to it and kind of getting content for social media and whatnot as well. But the plan being to then go to somewhere like a commercial gym. That's obviously how we ended up meeting when I was going to take the jump. So that was, if I stayed to just office and then part-time in the PT, I wouldn't be here PTing now. It's too hard. Like, you've got to be all in, and you've got to... It's a big risk. It's scary as well. But I feel like there's too many people who think I can do it on the side. And realistically, you can't run a business that way, I don't think. Especially not in this kind of environment at the moment.
Correct. And I would say you're right as in saying there will come a point, there's a tipping point. So when you have the two jobs, it's like one should overtake the other.
For sure.
Once that happens, that's when you either do we jump, or I take that step back and then have to wind it down.
Yeah.
But that also leads me on to obviously 15 years in the gaming, the video work, the office work.
Yeah.
Were you still training in them? Was there a turning point of like 3 years before you took that leap?
Yeah, so training wise, I'd been training for a good few years. I'd moved into Strongman. Prior to that, I've been a bit all over with training. I certainly took a few years off and got just fat, to be honest. When I had my first son, who's 11 now, when he was first born, I didn't train for about 2-3 years, and
it's quite a long time. Like,
yeah,
just
a long
totally
time.
just fell off altogether, or as in just like wind it down? I was just like, okay,
all together. There's that's a much longer story, to be honest. But I stopped altogether. There was certainly a strong element of depression involved in that as well, and then I had a lot of issues with my partner at the time, who's not going to get any of my airtime right now.
No,
but
that's fine.
but
Swiftly,
so
yeah,
I spent I think probably close to 3 years, and what was the tipping point for me that started me training again was when I was a teenager. I was kind of the first guy at school who started lifting weights and stuff, and I've always been big. And then obviously I just totally stopped lifting altogether. And then I ran into one of my friends from school, and he went pretty much, "What happened to you? Like, you used to be like jacked, and you're like little and fat now, pretty much." And that was just like,
wow,
annihilated my confidence.
that was
to be
maybe
honest.
that like something
that was
clicked,
and
you were like,
I'd maybe never seen it. That's what you see yourself every day. It never really occurred to us that you've got fat and lazy, pretty much, and you've had just too many other things focused on. So what I did was I literally bought a weight set and just started training out of my garage, just by myself.
Nice.
My garage connected to the house, and then got much more into like when I was able to kind of stand on my own 2 feet and get away from that whole relationship and everything. I then started more like bodybuilding training, lost a lot of weight, and got shredded pretty much. That's where I kind of went back to. But yeah, it all came from just one of my, not like friends, but someone I knew who just pretty much was like, "What, you used to be like big and strong, and look at you now," pretty much.
Well, this is
I think it was coming from a nice place, but it ruined us though. I was devastated.
If you're enjoying Inside the Gym podcast here at Studio H, please remember to click and subscribe or follow all the social links in the captions below. And thanks for watching. I mean, there's always going to be that turning point. I mean, for example, me, COVID hit me hard like a lot of people. And then that was the tipping point when I was like, there's always like maybe that one photo or that one comment. And it's kind of like, oh my God, I need to turn this shit round. And normally
100%.
It might be, I don't know if it's the same for females, but I know with me and Charlotte were talking about, there's men when they tend to have like, there's that click.
Yeah.
We set targets, then it's like, no, that's it. Like 100%. Tunnel vision straight on in.
Yeah.
But what I want to bring into the conversation is, what I love about you, Joe, is you have your niche. Like when people come to me for training, we've talked about this, is like I tend to deal with a lot of body composition.
For sure.
Very basic weight gain.
Yeah.
But if someone wants to do strongman, I'm like, not my forte.
Yeah.
Not my lane. And I send them like straight to you.
Yeah.
Do you still think, because I think there is, especially now more than ever with social media, Eddie Hall, like you say, the Stoltman brothers as well.
Yeah.
Strongman seems to have got this new generation thing, because we're probably the last of the generation of Pudzganowski.
Yeah.
Probably pronounced that wrong. But it did kind of dip.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe
and it wasn't
the mid-noughties. And then it's just all of a sudden. So do you feel like you still have a good, how would I wear this? Not good clientele, but there's still that big push for strong man, strong women.
Yeah, I think the biggest push has actually been in strong women, to be honest. But I do think strongman in general is a much bigger sport probably than it's ever been, because especially back in the day, you used to do competitions and there'd be no prize for winning. You might get like a little plastic trophy and that's it. Whereas now, like, if you're at the top level, you can make a real good living. Again, if you look at Eddie Hall, he only won Worlds once, but that's all he ever needed. Like, yeah, I say only won Worlds once, like it was an easy thing, but he used that and made millions from it. You know, like you can actually make a living as a pro strongman now. Don't get me wrong, you've got to be top 15, 20 in the world, so it's very difficult to do, but I certainly think it's bigger. And then on the women's side, that's getting much bigger the last couple of years. Like Giants Live have started doing women's shows as well, started doing the mixed shows as well, so you got like the men and the women team together and kind of make a bit more of a spectacle of it. So yeah, I certainly think it's growing. There's certainly a lot more
internationally as well, I've noticed.
Yeah,
there's a lot
really
of
big.
Like you see with the Giants Live. I don't know what's like in Europe, you might know a bit more, but it's nice to see how there's like so many different European countries
Yeah.
that actually compete in World's Strongest Man now.
Yeah,
It's not just
especially
like
like
UK, USA. It's very, inclusive of all nations
yeah,
now.
a lot in like the Eastern European countries, especially like Poland, Ukraine. Like they've got like Ukraine have got some like the most crazy athletes in the world, and especially in the current climate as well. Like this is easy for them compared to what they're going through, So yeah, it's certainly a growing sport. And then it was a weird one because America's always had decent strongmen, but never had a really big strongman scene. They're actually starting to push it now as well, and you're starting to see the emergence of like the Arnold that's getting bigger now, and then Brian Shaw, he's got the Brian Shaw Classic and things. So there's certainly
Well, he's like the mascot for America, really, because he's won.
Brian Shaw.
Don't quote us. You'll have to maybe quote us. He's won 3 or 4, and then
Four
tried to
worlds.
go for his other one,
Tried
but
to
he just
get
missed
fifth,
out, didn't he?
yeah. So him and Big Z both tried to go for 5, and just too much competition these days, and they got older, didn't they? It is what it is. Like I think both of them are 2 of the best ever, though.
Well, this is what I really admire about strongman, and this bodybuilding doesn't compete to it. There's 2 sports that I really admire a lot of. Is one, I like pound for pound lifting, so a lot of the Olympic lifting.
Yeah, me too.
So that's like, just for example's sake, although like say Eddie Hall did the half-ton lift,
Yeah.
he weighs quite a lot.
Yeah, he was like 200
Whereas-
kilos when he did it. Yeah.
But then again, he's just lifted half a ton.
Yeah, for sure.
Whereas in the Olympics, it's very much, you see these Korean lifters who are like 78 kilograms,
Yeah.
clean and pressing like nearly 2.0 of their body weight,
Yeah.
which is an insane.
Just, yeah.
It's mind-boggling.
Phenomenal power, yeah.
So back to the original point is what I love about strongman is no one ever thought the half-ton lift could be done until
Yeah.
it is then done.
Yeah.
Then there's the controversial Hathor not having done it in a competitive state, if that's
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
501.
501, yeah. Which he made look pretty comfortable, to be fair.
He did.
Yeah.
Do you think it's always, that's probably one of the best things about strongman is it just physically shows how much you can push the body
For
in
sure.
so many different sports, lifts, everything like that. And it's so admirable because it shows what you can, there's limits and then they push through them. Like everyone thought they couldn't do the half ton until it was done. And now look,
Yeah.
everyone's like, oh, well, it's 501. Next it'll be 502, 503.
That shows you like that how big that was that it's not been done since. I know there's obviously the controversy around Thor doing it. Let's just say you accept that what it was and say it was 501.
Yeah.
That was still what? That was during COVID. And there's been numerous attempts to pull over 500 since. No one's done it. I think the max is still currently like 472 still.
in
and like,
competition state.
yeah, and like that jump's ginormous. Like when you see world records broken when it comes to weightlifting, it's usually by half a kilo or a kilo. Like Eddie broke it by like 35 kilos. That's why it's so big. It's like such a ludicrous jump as well. And the fact that arguably we've got the best
human
range
body.
of strongmen now, and none of them can still do it as well. Like it's a crazy feat of strength. It'll go down in history.
Well,
as-
it's like, correct me if I'm wrong again, I'm trying to really crank into the old
testing
knowledge.
your strongman knowledge now, yeah.
Mark Felix still holds the record with these big giant hands for the,
He has the biggest hands I've ever
Is
seen.
it the thing he holds? I can't pronounce the Greek hold where you have the
Hercules
two-
hold.
That's the
so
one.
where
I
you
love
out,
watching
you
that.
hold it there. Yeah, so I actually seen him break that record twice because he did it in Europe
It's
and in Britain.
insane.
Honestly, he has the biggest hands. Like
But
Google
it's
his
like
hands.
over a minute of
Like-
just pure.
My entire hand fits in his palm. Like he could practically wrap his fingers twice around a bar. They're so big. I've never seen anything like
And
it. Like
he's in his 50s
he's
now, and he's still. I
54
think he's
now?
the last. I don't know if he has officially retired, but I know he's.
yeah, he's done
very
from Worlds
winding
now. He's
down
54, maybe 55. I'm probably under. He's been around forever. Like he was in
Yeah.
Worlds at like 2002 and stuff. Yeah, and he's still going now. So yeah, he's pretty much. I think he's retired from Worlds now, but he's still going to do Britain's every now and then. And yeah, he must be 55 now. He's just that guy's.
He's got
the miracle
respect because
man.
he's one of the longest serving
Yeah.
strongmen in the sport.
Just a
So
freak
going
athlete. Yeah.
Back to just for a bit of a topical subject with the strong women.
Yeah.
Do you ever see it getting to the point where I think that sport is also very inclusive, where a lot of men enjoy watching it?
Yeah,
Because
for sure.
it's rare that I would probably say CrossFit communities and like the men want to see the women
Yeah,
lift
100%.
very bloody strong, just
Yeah.
as much as the women want to see the men lift strong.
Yeah.
And it's one of the only sports I can say it might not ever get topical subject get as big,
For sure.
but it's one of the only few that I can see get to the point where I can make a full-time living out of it.
For sure.
The men want to watch the women just as much as the women want to watch the men.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that me personally drew me towards strongman was just the camaraderie of it. And everyone pushed each other on. No one cares whether you what your background is, male or female. No one
Yeah.
gives a shit. Everyone just wants to see you lift it. Like I could be competing against you and we could be in a deadlift and you might be going to beat me. I'm still going to be cheering you on because I just want to see the biggest weight lifted on the day. Like,
Yeah.
I'll always love that about the sport. And I do think that helps that, one, you're getting more women attempting bigger lifts and pushing it, but then you got the guys pushing them forward as well. I think you're probably right. It'll probably never be as big as Strongman, just for the only reason being there's an aspect of Strongman which is still like a bit of a freak show and people just want to see the biggest thing lifted.
Freakishly strong.
Yeah, and they don't really care who's doing it. They just want to see, if you say, do you want to see a bus picked up or a car picked up? You want to see the bus picked up. You don't care who's doing it. So there's always going to be that aspect of it as well.
Quite a big jump there between a car and a bus car.
Yeah. But like, I think that in terms of, like you're saying, its ability to grow and its inclusivity, I think probably mixed martial arts probably at the top when it comes to like the women get paid the same as the men. They're kind of put on the same pedestal. I think Strongman's doing a really good job of pushing the women now, though, and starting
it's
to
really helped bring it up. It really, especially the Giants Live.
Yeah, that's a big one. They're getting like some money into it as well. And
I'm not sure on TV coverage. Is it getting TV coverage?
So it's
just
not
starting?
as much. It's starting, yeah. So I know that UK's a couple of years ago did a show, and that was it was on TV. But you know, like over Christmas, you get Channel 5. You've got all the Strongman events,
like that. Yeah.
Whereas the UK's Strongest Woman was on like Channel 2:33 at like 1 a.m. So no one's seen it, but it's a start. It's going that direction
getting recorded,
again, yeah.
which is good.
And it's helping that they're getting some real freak athletes move into the sport, well, from like powerlifting, CrossFit, whatnot as well. And people can see a living out of it, and it's fun. Like I think the good thing is now on a local level, there's a lot more strong women comps. Well, like, I coach like a lot of strong women. I've coached like Newcastle's strongest woman for 2 years running. Newcastle's second strongest woman. I coached her as well. Like, and they were getting busy. When I first started as a coach, there wasn't really a lot of girls interested. Whereas now it's starting to become a bit more inclusive. I think it helps that they've added weight classes in as well, because you used to have issues where you'd have like a girl who might be like 6 foot and weigh 130 kilos, and then you've got another girl who's strong but she weighs 78 kilos. She just can't compete. Whereas now they've added that in, again, trying to make it more inclusive for the women, because realistically you could have different weight classes for men and women as well, so that certainly helps as well.
Well, 100%. I mean, back to that point about how amazing the freakishly good feats of strength that these men and women do.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, currently talking to F.S.I. owner. For
That's
now,
me.
F.S.I.
FSI's closed, but I still own it. Yeah. So if I want to bring it back, I can.
So I'll bring up 2 points. One was I have trained at F.S.I. when it was originally on the course, when it was just a smaller, with all the tires,
like Battle Hill,
like that. But I have trained at where it used to be.
Yeah.
Or its last current location. A freakish bit of strength, which just goes to show. Now I'm a strong lad, not like freakishly strong, but like can hold my weight and lift
absolutely
heavy
I've trained with you,
weights.
you're strong, yeah.
Can we talk Atlas stones?
Yeah.
What the fuck? I once attempted Atlas stones, and it was with a guy called Danny Hunter at the time.
I know Danny. I know Danny.
But must be going back 8 years, and I used to do one strongman session every month just to give us a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
That take me out of my comfort zone. We're going to lift some heavy shit.
Yeah.
How hard? For those who don't know, lifting a weight is fine if it has a handle, some form of grip on it.
You can strap into the bar or something.
Correct.
Fine, yeah.
When I first attempted it, we went all the way up to 100 because we knew I could lift 100.
Yeah.
But the difference is it's a ball. So I had to reassess
much more awkward,
how to hold it, because you can't grab it.
Yeah.
You have to wrap your arms round it to sit into it.
Yeah.
I managed it by going from we did lightest to top and then work my way down.
Yeah.
Holy fuck, my back the next day. And I probably lifted terrible, but honestly, take us through it. It's just one of those ones where it's just your brain can't compute ball.
I think that probably, it's going to sound a bit weird. I think if you've never done them before and you're an experienced lifter, that it probably makes them more difficult because it throws you in a position that you will think of as weak, because you kind of have to be arched over the, as opposed to if you think on a deadlift, you want to be trying nice and straight and push through the ground. Yeah, and Atlas stone's awkward one. It depends as well if you're, we're talking about grip.
Probably wouldn't let a beginner use an Atlas stone, but
it would depend on the base strength. Or you go a really small one, like a 30 kilo one, which whatever. But in terms of grip as well. So if you go to the heavier ones, you'll see in all the events, you'll see they're all covered in tacky. So that's like tree sap pretty much. That helps a lot, but it's always different because, like you say, you're over the top. You're trying to get your hands underneath it as best you can, and like I say, you kind of naturally, especially if you have lifted before, which obviously you have, you're thinking, right, I've got to try and keep me back straight. And you can't really do that. You've got to put yourself in what is a dangerous position, pick it up, sit it down, then come over the top, because naturally you want to go underneath it because you think you're picking it up. but you want to go over the top and then try and push it. It kind of hits everything. It's a much more technical lift than you probably look at it, because when you see the top guys, you see the Stallman brothers, like Tom, he'll just fling a 200 stone around.
Well,
like
he's
it's
the
nothing.
king of the stones at the moment, isn't
and he's
he? So,
ridiculous. Yeah. But yeah, when it comes to like numbers, it's so much harder on a stone than it is on a barbell. Like, I pulled 345 on a deadlift.
Yeah.
I pulled 170 on a stone and thought I was going to die. So yeah, like it's just because they're so big as well. Like
honestly,
I'm not really built for stones because I've got like a big chest and short arms. If you've got some of the big wingspan, you can get under it. It's just trying to get connected with
big
very
hands like Felix.
Yeah,
which would be a good one. But it definitely opened my eyes, and I think another good point is anyone who has never tried Strongman should definitely try Strongman.
Yeah, like I
just to think outside the box
and just have a bit of fun with it as well. Like you don't need to like there's this misconception of Strongman where you're just going to max out your weights all the time, and it's not really what it is. Like all my clients get sick of the fact I make them do a lot of reps, but it's because I'm trying to get them stronger. I'm not just trying to max out for fun. So I have my Strongman club on weekends because I don't do as much Strongman coaching now that I've moved over to the studio, but I still have my core group of strong men and women, and we just bring people in every now and then who just want a bit of fun. Like a couple of my guys have got no interest in ever competing. They just do it, like you said, just to
once a month,
mix
just to
it
give us
up.
a bit
Yeah,
of
and they
a
want
try.
to press a log overhead or play around with some stones. And it's a fun, different way to mix up your training as well.
Gives you DOMs. If you haven't had DOMs for a while, do a bit of Strongman. It'll give you that body
like
a wake-up
any of the
call.
moving events, get a yoke on your back and go running with that for a bit, and then you'll feel your calves the next day and your legs.
Well, a good plug. This is a plug for Joe, by the way.
Okay.
Is, he does an amazing thing called barbell,
I do.
which is ladies lifting. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that all started kind of when I first met you over at the commercial gym. So there's a real issue. Again, like I do think the general perception of women lifting is a lot better now than it used to be. But
Great use of word, by the way, barbell.
Yeah. I'm very talented, I'm very creative, But you could attest to this. Like at the gym group where we worked, you just see it all the time. The girls would come in and go straight upstairs. And that's where all the cardio was. And they would just ignore the weight room downstairs. And it was because it was just all full of big, sweaty guys grunting and throwing weights around.
Confidence as well, I think.
That was the big one I felt. I felt this was a market there for girls who want to lift. One, don't necessarily know how, but two, don't want to be surrounded by a bunch of big, sweaty dudes who are just throwing weights around and whatnot. So my whole idea for that when I started over in gym group was, well, let's get girls lifting. Like, there's no reason they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And let's go. They can then go in with me, and not in an arrogant way. I'm going to be the biggest, strongest guy there. So I'll take you in.
You can
let's
guide
get
them
lifting.
confidently.
Exactly. I'll
in
show
a
them
safe
the right
manner.
way to do it. And then there was always a bit of like...
Well, this is, sorry, just quickly, what is you're a reflection of your product, which is what a lot of people need in
100%.
that confidence. So yeah.
And we used to always joke on that, like the plan was to get the girls just lifting much more efficiently than any of those guys were doing, and we did that as well. And again, like that's how I met Newcastle's strongest woman. She got that from doing the women's, like she'd never lifted in her life, and then picked up weight, and I was like, oh, she's a freak. And then a couple of the other girls who I've trained have all done strongman or whatever now, and they've just. But that was what I did then. I've just recently brought that back to the studio. Same idea of just.
So, ladies, if you are wanting to get into like the strongman side and in a confident, safe environment, seriously, go and see Joe. He is good at that kind of strongman.
Yeah,
strong women stuff. There you got cancelled. There we go.
So barbell's not really strongman. That's more just going over the main compound lift. So I kind of split out. So it's like squat, deadlift, bench, and then overhead, and then. If they want to branch off into strongman, we do the strongman club, which is a mixed group. So yeah, so the barbell class, that's especially now because I've got the studio, it can just be just the girls in there as well, and they can just come and lift kind of confidently. So a lot of them are just wanting to get into shape as well. They don't have no interest in getting strong, and that's fine too. It's just, as you know, like there's still some girls think that if they start to lift weights, they're going to suddenly look like Arnie. And I mean, I wish that was true because we'd all look like Arnie then. It's not going to happen. Like, actually, like
if that happened, then everyone would look like Arnie.
Yeah,
so I'm going to use that now.
Yeah, it's true. Like it's
a nation of Arnies.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas like putting muscle mass on and getting bulky is hard for guys. It's much harder for women. Like there's still some girls think, oh, I don't want to lift. I'm going to get really big.
Silly to say that.
Yeah, of course you are. Yeah, it's different biology in it. So that's the big thing is just trying to get girls lifting and enjoying it and feeling comfortable and happy in that kind of.
And you really do that.
Well.
I remember when we worked at Gym Group, you'll find that Joe is very safety conscious. You know, you're very good at confident and leading people through that. So yeah, if you're watching and you fancy it and you're in the North Tyneside area, go and see Joe.
Yeah, technique is key in it.
One thing that we did, link on when we worked at Gym Group is, for those who don't know, me and Joe grew up with an amazing program called Dragon Ball
Z. Yes, I've heard of that show. Yes,
is on there. So a bit of upbringing and what kind of got you into lifting. So for me, it was Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
To me, there was nothing more. I was like a 10 to teenage, guy really wanting to get into fitness and seeing Goku power up. And I was like, that's class.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to do some press ups and eat a lot of noodles and do some
stand
weights
on your
and
head
just
and do some.
repeat it
Yeah,
again.
for sure.
Or the wrestling as well. It was either Triple H in his heyday.
The best.
Probably not, maybe not naturally, but there we go.
Not even close to natural. No,
no.
I'll call them out. That's all right.
Exactly.
Not even close to natural.
But in his head, peak Triple H was like
unbelievable.
On the cover of Muscle
big Sam
Fitness.
meat. Yeah.
And the other one was Jay Cutler. So it was actually quite a contrast, but Jay in his prime was brilliant. So that got me into the lifting because I wanted to look like these men on the covers. But with yourself, you did your work in an office, then transition. But was there anything that got you into lifting while you were working there? What started that? What got you into the gym?
Yeah, so when I started lifting when I was younger, like I say, I was kind of like the first kid at school who got some weights and started lifting. It was kind of a mix of things. One being Dragon Ball Z, same thing. I've always loved it. Like I've got Vegeta tattooed on my leg. Like I love it. And just seeing these freaks of nature power up and
unbelievable.
Yeah,
I still believe that's somewhere deep in the around the world. We're
going to work it out. I'm confident I'm going to work it out at some point. Like I've got this belief still. It keeps us going. 100%. So that was always a big one for me. I just like everything about it I enjoyed. So I was kind of like in my head like, I'd be cool to look like that. And I'm now aware it's not really the most attainable thing in the world. But that, and then to be honest, like on a much more depressed note, like I had a lot of issues when I was younger with like with my dad and a few other bits, and kind of I always just wanted to get big to look after myself. I had an issue with a couple of lads at school and stuff, so I kind of just thought I'm just gonna be bigger than everyone. I'm kind of protect myself was honestly a big part of that as well. And I kind of should really thank all those people because I don't think I'd have went down the same path without all of that negativity as well to kind of push me on to do that. God knows what I'd be doing now. I'm sure I'd be doing something else fun, but that kind of pushed me into it. And then, like I say, when I stopped, a lot more negative, like a lot more negative in that kind of situation. Again, that was the same thing of like, it really pushed me to do something as opposed to just, like I say, I just kind of sat there and looked at myself and realized like, what are you doing? Like, I've always been reasonably strong and I've always thought I've got potential to do something with it.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I actually went really on bodybuilding and I went into F.S.I one day by mistake. Just I was kind of passing by and just I was like, we'll try this gym. And then I went from training there to getting into Strongman to competing. Was
that like a Homer Simpson? What's a game?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
That,
What's an F.S.I? Yeah. And then I started competing there. Then I started working there, and then I bought it. Like I kind of just turned up one day and then and then never left. And then love it.
I do like that because I know I've spoken about this on another podcast with Adams as well, about how sometimes, I'm not saying bullying's right, but sometimes bullying can be used in not the right manner, but can sometimes make people, like I wouldn't be a gym owner or be in such shredded shape because I used to be morbidly obese.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be a positive outcome if used in the right way.
So
do you feel like it might have, put it this way, you are the biggest person in the room now, so I'm the strongest person. I don't think anyone's going to mess with you. Do you definitely feel like that's had a positive outcome though from the negative?
I think it's a mix. If I'm honest, I think a mindset's a big one. And I do think that if I'm having a good day and I think about it, then because I don't think I'd have necessarily pushed as hard as I have without that. But at the same time, like you're never going to sit there and go, "Oh, it was good" when people were horrible to you. Like it's trying to find that right mindset for it. So for sure, I think I can look at it in a much more positive mindset. That's hard to do though. Don't get me wrong. Like I think, like you said, you can't sit there and go, bullying's really good. It's good when people are horrible to you. But if you're able to try and use that and turn that negative energy into something positive, I think that's where like strong people, I don't mean physically strong, I'm like mentally strong. That's where people are built really, yeah.
Oh, 100%. So I've got a few more points. So just a couple more minutes. Is we know you like wrestling.
I do like wrestling, yeah.
I've always wanted to ask this. Have you ever thought about doing wrestling?
Yeah, so at the studio now, I've got one PT called Finn who works at the gym, and he used to be a wrestler.
Yeah.
Like, not like big time, you like wrestling like Whitley Bay and stuff, and I always talk to him about it, and I would be a liar if I've not, every now and then when I'm thinking about it, just get on Google and be like wrestling schools in the Northeast and stuff. So I've thought about it just because I think it would be fun.
I think I could totally see you doing it, to be honest.
I think I'd be all right at it, but I'm also wary of the fact that from a physical standpoint, at the moment, especially, my body's a bit of a wreck from Strongman, so I'm just busy trying to
Yeah.
dropped down. But yeah, I would be alive as I've not been tempted by it. Yeah.
So having owned F.S.I. and it's currently in limbo, and now proud studio owner, like myself, better or worse?
Different.
Difference. That's
yeah.
A good
So
one,
I will always be F.S.I.'s biggest fan. Like I love that gym. Like I say, I went there from a member to strongman to PT to own it. Like love it. Like I said, there's a reason that I still like the gym closed just because the industrial estate got knocked down. There was nothing to do with me. Like, but I'll always love F.S.I. and the environment, and having 110 members was great. Like the hours were ridiculous, but having a good coaching team, like that's I do miss like some of the camaraderie, because it's certainly different owning a studio, because sometimes I'll just be in the studio by myself, or it'll be just me and one-on-one. It's a different kind of stress, though. I would say that I felt when I owned F.S.I. that I had a lot of responsibility for everyone else as well, and I kind of didn't really focus on myself at all. I fell into a bit of a rabbit hole towards the end where everyone else's needs are much more important than my own, and I think as a business owner, you'll agree, like, that's to be an element of selfishness as well. Like, you have to focus on yourself, especially if you've got a team of people. Like, the better you do, the better they're going to do anyway.
I've only just learned that way. You've kind of got to remember that if you're not working at 100%, then you're not giving 100% to...
Exactly that, yeah. Whereas at the studio, like, there's parts that I love because I have a lot more time to focus on my family. Like, I've got a young boy, so I get to spend a lot more time with him now because I've got, like, joint custody of him, so I spend a lot of time with him. So that element, in terms of my timetable, is far better. But from a stress level, I need to get more people in, and like it's much more reliant on me as a PT as opposed to a gym owner. Whereas if I had a bad month or a bad couple of months at F.S.I. where I wasn't making a huge amount of money through PT, it didn't matter as much because I had all the memberships coming in, so I was always going to be fine. Whereas now it's a case of if I don't have any clients, then I don't have a business. Like, it's a different stress for sure. I enjoy both, but I'm certainly newer in the studio. Like, I've only had the studio for about 2 months now, so
I like
I'm
that.
still
It's
getting
a
used to that.
different stress. I very much know that very much.
Yeah.
And Charlotte knows very much about that different stress as well.
Neither's easy.
So last couple of quick fire questions before we go. Goku or Vegeta?
Well, it's got to be Vegeta. I know I'm wearing a Goku t-shirt, but I got Vegeta on my leg for life. So, but Vegeta always. I love both, but Vegeta.
Cell Saga or Frieza Saga?
I think the Frieza Saga is more iconic. I actually think the Cell Saga has better battles, but it's got to be Frieza.
The Cell Saga seemed very prolonged, unlike the Frieza one. But the Frieza one was iconic, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's where Goku's Super Saiyan for the first time. Everyone like who loves Dragon Ball will remember that. So I think it's got to be Frieza. Yeah.
Deadlift or Viking press?
Deadlift always. Always deadlift. Deadlift's my number one lift because I think it carries over to so many other things as opposed to just strength.
Brown sauce or red sauce?
Depends what I'm eating.
It's a good answer. Curry sauce or gravy on your chips?
Ooh, it depends on the day. I'm going to go curry, but I'm going to in a week's time. You're going to get a message from us. I'm going to say I've changed my mind. Gravy.
Chicken or steak?
You know, when I was at my heaviest, I ate steak every day, and I still love it, but it's put me off. So I'm going to go chicken. Pre-workout
or no pre-workout?
No pre-workout.
I need to think of a last one. Last one before we go. Cardio or
whatever your other answer is, it's probably going to be that.
No, last question, because obviously you're a big strong man. Do you find that you often get asked to move a lot of things?
All the time. Yeah, everyone wants me to move the house. Like, I'm moving house. Can you come help us move this piano and stuff? And I'm like, no. Like, no. I'd really rather not. Like, especially having moved 3 gyms in the last year and a half. But
that's a very, very fair point.
But yes, all the time. Yeah, just you're strong, so you can help with these things, and it's a cross I'm willing to bear. Though I'll take it. I don't mind. But yes.
Well, Joe, it's been a joy and a pleasure for episode 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much. I'll give you one of them.
Absolute pleasure.
Straight across the mic.
Appreciate it.
And I think one of the best points for you ladies out there that Joe has just said. If ladies were going to lift weights and look like Arnold, then we would be walking around and saying...
Trust me, I'd be so much bigger now if it was that easy. So much bigger and stronger if it was that easy.
So I think that's
especially
the best
natural,
point.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I think that's the best point to leave it on to. Once again, thank you very much.
Appreciate it, buddy.